The Ylands Editor. What can you do with it and how does it work and why should you be using it? I'm going to make a couple of videos which I'll explain you the following things. In this video I will show you some basic movements and how to build a simple item, paint it and then turn it into a blueprint. In the second video I will show you more of an advanced building which we're going to make round items while working with groups. In the third video I will show you how you can build a ship and turn it into a blueprint. And in the fourth video I will show you how you can build a whole island, and after that I might get into how to make games within Ylands itself, which you might have noticed some stuff right down here. But first things first, the editor. Let's click on it and then let's click on create. You're gonna get a lot of stuff, but for making blueprints you don't need much. You just need to give it a name. I'm just gonna call it how to edit, and right away I'm going to click on finish because in this case I don't need to do anything more. Now, why do you want to make blueprints in the editor and not in creative mode or in the adventure mode? That is simply because the editor will give you a lot of power to move blocks, work more precisely, and it can be so super satisfying rather than stressing out trying to do all kinds of stuff which it's very difficult. So first things first, as you can see down here, we have an empty field and this down here is our character. Now you can keep the character in order to test certain things, but in my case I already know that if I would place a door or if I would make an entrance of at least 6 blocks of emptiness, that my character can easily walk through. Now as you can see with my character, it's about 5 blocks high, which is the yellow block and the green block. Now of course you can make a blue block above the character as in 6 height, but I would always recommend at least make a space of a doorway so you know for sure you won't get stuck underneath when it's 1 lower, because on my home base number 1 I have a block that is 6 high, and when I just get onto the little stairways onto a little part where I walk, I just get stuck underneath it for 2 seconds. Of course I can press W again and continue walking, but getting stuck each time when you go underneath this is a little bit annoying. So I always recommend make it at least 1 doorway high, the entrance. So in this case you can do 2 things. You can either make a drag selection box and select this, then press on spacebar so you can get certain movements, which you can also find up here by the way. But pressing spacebar is just, you know, something you will get used to rather than having to move every time up there. Then you can just simply shove it offside. The reason why, because in video 2 we are going to use the middle point in order to make round stuff, so you want to move it offside, but in my case I'm just gonna press on delete and it's gone. Now how do the movement work? Well, it works a bit different than when you have the building tool in the exploration mode. For example, going up and down in this case works with Q and Z. Now in order to move a little bit faster you can hold shift, Q and Z. With the right mouse button you're going to look around, but you don't move your camera, while if you do it on your scroll wheel you just move your whole camera around, and of course the left mouse button is just selecting stuff. Right, first things first, I'm just gonna move right down here and I'm just going to do everything without cut editing, except if I need to cough or whatever, because you don't want to hear that. So there is a lot of stuff. It can be scary, and the more you work with it, it's absolutely not. Now we're just gonna click on entities, right? And then we're gonna get all kinds of stuff. Now the important thing for the blueprint is you still want to make sure you only take stuff that can be used into a blueprint. Now we have this thing down here. If we click on it, it's gonna be super simple. Make sure to select allow in-game blueprint, and then you should be fine. Now what if by accident you're messing around and you're here, for example? All you have to do is press escape to cancel, or when you're here, how do you get back to the entities? Well, it is always this one up here. You can also see it now. I have selected it. This became a little more darker white or grayish. Now let's go to the entities, and for people who just started out the exploration mode, I recommend you to start easy if it's about materials. I will also explain you in a second what will it cost, how you can see that. It actually works the same as in the exploration mode itself. Everything you place with blocks will use, for example, with the wooden blocks, it will cost logs. If you use something, for an example, a weapon for whatever, then you first need to craft a weapon or a tool, and then you can add it to your blueprint in adventure mode. I will just show everything. Right, getting back, we're gonna go to the blocks and we're just gonna start off with wood, because once you begin with island, wood is just one of the simple things you actually can get. Now what I want to do, in this case a simple item, we're just gonna make a very simple fence, and I'm going to take this very large block. Now you can see it moves as in free place mode, and up here you can see we have all kinds of options open. Now I did explain you, if you want to see more of this you can press spacebar. But if we want to change the mode from free place to grid, you press V. Basically like how you do that in adventure mode. And now you can see it moves on grid. And working on grid is super important, because if I would place this down here and then press the right mouse button to get rid of it, press spacebar to get the movement options, and if I would place this now with V, free place mode, if I would place this into the ground, it will be the same into your adventure mode. It will also spawn into the ground because it's off the grid. So you cannot expect it to be in your adventure mode just like how it was before. It will never spawn like this. So that is something very important to keep in mind. Alright, anything else, it should work the same. Which basically, we're gonna take this block, we're gonna go to grid mode. If you press F or G or H, it will just work the same. So you might think that's not too much exciting about it, but this will come. Alright, for a simple fence we're going to use poles, and in order to add poles to your blueprint in adventure mode, you're first going to need to make those poles. Unlike having these blocks in there, you don't have to make anything, you just have to add logs. So in this case you can type up here a pole, and then you can take this pole. Now we can choose to try to mess around with something ourselves with free place mode, or we can just do it on grid. In this case I'm just going to do this on grid, and then I'm just going to place a few couple here. And here actually the thing comes. What if you want to have a lot of these? Well, you're just going to move your W, S and D until you're above. Make a drag selection box. Now to copy this you press Ctrl D. Now it's copied. You just move this offside. Ctrl D, move this offside. And on this way you already have a lot more power than doing this one by one into the exploration mode. You don't want to do that. You can just select something, delete it, and it doesn't cost resources. You don't have to stop and all of a sudden start to cut down some trees because you're missing out. Now you could select this again, because I find it easier to just press F, and let's just place this down here just like so. Now you can see here it's perfect, here it's sticking out at this moment. But what we could do, and it all depends on what you're making. If I got like a big wall down here, it doesn't matter if it sticks out, because the blueprint won't say to you, hey, one object is sticking through the other, you cannot place it. No. You see that there's a little bit of a gap, but you can just actually close it, grab that one with it. How did I do that? Well, if you first select this one, hold Ctrl, you can select another one without losing that one. And then with that one being selected, I can do this, hold Ctrl, move it up, hold Ctrl, and now I have all of these. Now I can just move it up, for example, right down here. And then select all of these again and just move it up. And this is also another thing, you cannot do this in exploration mode. if you have been building this one by one and you're like, it needs to be a little bit more higher up, you're going to need to delete everything with a hammer and then redo everything again, which is so much work. And here you just select it all and just move it up like that, and you're fine, right? That is very, very simple. Now let's just pretend for a second that you don't like what's going on here. You can try to actually, move stuff up. I did make a fence in one of the episodes, and I noticed this stuff down here wasn't too perfect. And basically what I did is try to select all of these without them, unselecting while keeping everything work the same. So hold Control and just unselect it like that, and then you can still try to, move some stuff. Now in my end result, I had gaps that were smaller, gaps that were bigger, but it's super simple to just make small little adjustments in order to create what you want to create, and no one will notice. Of course now you do, now you've seen me doing it. But this is one of the ways, a very cheap way of using these poles in order to make like a fence, right? Maybe this one a little bit like that. Alright, painting, how does that work? Well, you can click on a block, and you see here painting stuff, and then you can just do whatever you want. And then you're like, okay, but what if I want to have that the same? Do I need to do like that and do like that, and then confirm, and then click this one, do that one, and put the code down here? No, you have here recolor. I could have just showed you in one spot. I just want to show you that there are also other possibilities if you don't have a choice, that you can copy the code. So in this case, we take the pick color, which is also onto the painting tool. You just click on here, and now we have the first one. But in this case, we don't have it on the other one, so that's why I was saying, it's strange. Well, maybe it works like this then if I click on it. Okay, now it works. For some reason, it doesn't work when you do it right down here. You cannot pick the color. I don't know why. Maybe that's something the devs need to, add. But in this case, now I have the same color everywhere in case a block has multicolor or an item has multicolor. And now you can just, hold your mouse button and smear it all over the place. In this case, I'm just moving that one stick up, and if you look from this distance, it looks like a nice fence. Of course, it doesn't have the colors I want, so like that, beautiful. So now we have made a very nice fence with a short amount of time, with a lot of power in order to do it, without having to need to break it down, build it back up, and start messing around with this precision mode in adventure mode. For simple things it is okay, but when you want to build like some nice stuff, the editor is very good. Okay, so now how do we save it up? Well, you're just going to select it all. And then down here it says save as blueprint. But I do want to warn you, if you already have been messing around and you have touched this by accident, it will tell you you cannot do that. So if I click on this one, this is for the adventure mode, this is for other stuff. In this case we're going to use this, and then we do that, and then it says it's not valid to use for game blueprint creation. So in this case we select it again, and then we just simply click on break group. And now while we have everything selected, save as blueprint, make sure it's on game blueprint, click on next. As you can see, we have a nice little picture down here. You can give it a name. Now the description isn't really a thing just yet. Maybe for the future, once the developers decide this needs to go to the Steam workshop, then it would be nice if you explain a bit about it, because not everything seems to fit into the picture. And then you just simply click on finish. Now there is also another thing though. What for an example, and I'm just going to grab something. So what if we have built it like a piece of a wall for whatever reason, and we want to make a picture which we see what is going on. So if I would select everything right now, save as blueprint, do next, Then it shows the other side. I'm not sure how that works as yet because I'm also new with the blueprint, but for some reason, maybe they've changed it with an update or whatever, that it will basically always show from this angle. But I had once that I had something like this and you couldn't see what was happening. If it does, change the camera view to something like this and then it will show it to you. Now another thing that you can simply do is, for example, select everything down here, do Ctrl D if you want to make something big, press your space bar and then you can do this kind of stuff, right? But what if you want to move stuff a little bit lesser? Then press on V from free place mode and now you can just, you know, move it a bit differently. And space bar, and then you can just, you know, if you have something in mind you want to do, you can try to, if this happens, just press Ctrl Z and it will do the last step. In this case everything was selected. Zoom in and rotate. You will get used to the controls. You can just try to, you know, position it precisely. And then you can make a blueprint out of that. Now I'm just going to show you real quick, you know, what this does in the adventure mode. And always make sure you save it in case you need to get back. And now we are in adventure mode. You might see a little bit of a spoiler if you have watched it the last episode. I have been fixing some stuff down here, which I made use of the editor. That tree needs to leave. Those palm trees at the side need to leave because it's not really fitting in. I've also been building this stuff down here. It's also new since the last episode. I've been moving up the benches because it was a request. Anyways, back to the blueprints. So how do we get it? Well, you're gonna go to this menu with tab. And then you go here, and as you can see, here are all my blueprints, and here is my beautiful fence. Then use blueprint, and then you can just place it like that, do it like that. What will it cost? Well, in this case I have only used wood. For these building blocks it only costs logs, and for these bars it will use poles. So let's see if I have something. In this case I have used this amount of logs apparently. Then go to the items. Here it says that, put it in there. Now if you have used a stone type and it will, you know, tell you something is wrong and you have a chisel into your toolbox, get it out of there. Even though it will show it to you down here, you need to get in here, then put it like that, if it still works like that. And once you've added all of your stuff to the blueprint, it will, you know, it's finished. There it is. Now keep in mind all of the non-building items, which I mean everything besides those normal building blocks, you can still grab it. So if you do this by accident, it is gone. Now you can harden out items. I might have something to harden out for the people who doesn't know. So I got this bank sign here. You press Q and then you click once, or sometimes it's twice. Yeah, now it have to do twice, and then you cannot pick it up anymore. I got a couple of items in there. Now there is also another thing that I want to show you, because I believe they have changed the way when you cancel your blueprint. So if we take this again and we just place it. Now if you have something very large, you can also need to place it like right down here, press U or J, and you can still place it. Now let's just add a couple items and then, you know, cancel it. So in this case, what would be fun? Some floating poles would be fun. Now if I go out of it, they will be added. Now when I stop building, it says any unused material will be discarded, but I noticed it will just stay there. So yeah, they have changed it. First of all, when you cancel the blueprint, everything was lost. Now it's not lost. They will just place it like that, which is a very good thing. That is some of the basics of how to make a blueprint with a few couple of simple items. Now in the next video, like I said, we're going to make some round things. I'm going to show you how I have made this kind of an idea and how you can work with groups and do a few couple of special movements, but more about that in the next video.